A disheveled man in uniform comes to, looks up at the sky, and all he can see out of his cylindrical surroundings is some sort of light above him. Without a doubt, how did I get in here is one of the many things racing through his mind at this moment. The walls are blank, and all he can think to do in his desperation is to move his hands across them, hoping to gain some sort of knowledge or find an opening unseen to the eye. And that's when he comes across another inhabitant of this enigmatic scenario, a clown. The clown doesn't seem to express the same concern for the situation as our protagonist, but this encounter does offer some information. We find out that our lead character is a major, but other than that, he can't recall anything about himself. Is he suffering from amnesia? Then the clown poses a more perplexing question. Why are they here? Why do they exist?
Because there is no circus, and there is no war. You're just like the rest of us.
The rest of whom, you ask? Across the room arouses 3 more lost souls. A bagpiper, a ballet dancer, and a hobo. This brings us up to 5 characters in search of an exit. Upon the discovery of his fellow inhabitants, the major in desperation begins shouting the questions dominating his mind.
Where are we? What are we? Who are we?
The ballerina offers up an answer, as unsatisfactory as it may be. It appears they all woke up one day and this was their home. They have no recollection of a past existence. What may be worse is they have no knowledge of what is to come. The situation is a dire one.
We will not end the nightmare, we'll only explain it. Because this is the Twilight Zone.
5 characters in search of an exit is a prime example of what happens to human beings when they seek a solution to a situation that they do not fully understand, and how desperately they'll search for some sort of rationale in any given scenario.
We're here because we're here, because we're here. Because we're here.
Right away, our newest addition to this pit of doom begins pounding his fists against the walls, as other characters have seemingly accepted their fate. They sit around, going as far as to mock the major. Let's be honest, it's mostly the clown doing the mocking, for even trying to escape. They've all tried before, and they have all failed to find any answers for their current situation. They've been here for a very long time.
And we've been here for an endless time.
The major has questions such as how they eat, what do they drink, etc., to which the other characters offer up an alarming answer. There is no food, there is no water, they haven't eaten since they've been there. As a matter of fact, they haven't been hungry nor thirsty. The major sums it all up to them being in shock, but insists that they will need sustenance sooner or later. We get a sign of some sort of outside existence when earth-shattering bells can be heard above them, so loud in fact they cause our characters to fall to the ground, covering their ears. On a brighter note, if the major was more accustomed to his setting, he might see himself as lucky. After all, he's surrounded by entertainers. The ballerina could dance for him to the sounds of the bagpiper's music. However, our main character certainly isn't one to just sit around and accept his fate. He wants to find a way out. He thinks about climbing out, but the walls are just too high, so he thinks about going through the walls. He even tries penetrating them with his sword, but is moved to tears when it breaks on his first attempt. He even tries using the broken nub to dig a tunnel, but that doesn't work either. And that's when we have a breakthrough. The major knows exactly where they are. The answer's right in front of them, and it's as simple as can be.
We, all of us, we are in hell.
Even though he's come to this revelation, he refuses to succumb to his surroundings. He continues looking for a way out, but the solution to their problem is inspired by the least likely of our candidates, the clown. He jokes of acrobatics, of them being able to hop right over the top of their enclosure, and the ballerina latches on to the idea. The major supports her, and serious discussions about trying to climb out are underway. The clown does bring up one point of issue, though. Despite their lack of feelings in the categories of hunger and thirst, he does mention that physical pain is another story altogether, and that a fall from such a height would be a physical sensation he'd rather do without. After a bit of coaxing, they come to the conclusion that standing on each other's shoulders would be the best route to success. It's up to the ballerina to climb to the top of everyone, finally stand on the shoulders of the bagpiper, and climb right on over the edge. She gets there, right at the top, but she can't seem to reach. As they all try their best to stretch out to give her just a couple more inches, the bell rings again. The ground begins to shake, and with success right at her fingertips, they all crumple to the ground. They were only 2 to 3 inches from salvation. Not to be dissuaded, the Major springs right back into action. He decides they'll tie their garments to his sword. He'll climb to the top of everyone, fling the sword over the top of the enclosure, using it like a grappling hook, and he'll use it to pull himself out. The ascent to the top commences. The Major successfully plants the soles of his feet on the bagpiper's shoulders, and they pass his sword up to him. Everyone else watches with hope in their eyes while trying to hold their positions. They don't want to take another fall. The Major begins swinging his sword towards the top of the enclosure. Finally, just as they planned, it catches, and with every bit of strength left in his body, he hoists himself up to the top. He pulls his legs over the lip, straddling the top. Before looking out, he glances down at his comrades, who only want to know one thing.
Major, where are we?
Before he can answer, he falls into a bank of snow with an accompanying thud from an indeterminate height. They all come to their feet, staring out at the endless void above them. While the ballerina tries to remain hopeful, the clown has succumbed to despair. He knows the Major may be back, but it won't be to help them. He now has come to believe that they may, in fact, be in hell. We cut back to a young girl as she lifts the doll from a bank of snow. The doll is dressed up as an army major. We see an adult, bell in hand, instructing the girl to put the doll back in a bin labeled 17th Annual Christmas Doll Drive, and expresses hope that more people donate to their charity. As the girl runs away, the woman begins to ring her bell, shouting,
God's business?
and we zoom in on our 5 characters inside of the barrel. The hand of the ballerina slowly moves toward the Major as a tear runs down her cheek. They are sitting as though they'd always been thrown in and never started to move. It turns out they were dolls all along. Like its namesake, 6 characters in search of an author, 5 characters in search of an exit deals with the question of one's identity. The 5 characters in the latter are driven by the archetypal bravery, humor, and determination embodied by the roles, rather than being driven by their egos, because they don't have the history required to fuel one's ego. As a result, they cooperate a whole lot better than many flesh and blood protagonists of other episodes. They want to exemplify their roles, to be a hero, an entertainer, or a companion, but even if they escape their surroundings, they cannot be these things on their own. When they're outside, they once again become non-sentient objects. Without someone playing with them, providing context, then their world is an empty void, and they are alone within it.
We're nameless things with no memory, no knowledge of what went before, no understanding of what is now.
In a roundabout way, this episode asks, what if our toys came to life when we weren't watching? And answers that they tried desperately to find a way back into someone's story. Ultimately, this pro-charity episode is only scary if you don't know that our hero's hell is merely a purgatory.
We're dead, and this is limbo.
They are only homeless for now, as the episode assures that this will not be their final resting stop.
But this added hopeful note. Perhaps they are unloved only for the moment. In the arms of children, there can be nothing but love. A clown, a tramp, a bagpipe player, a ballet dancer, and a major.
Hopefully they will light up the face of a child for Christmas to play a role in their imagination.